remember the first time we met.
Well, we've seen each other, at Television Academy and different events.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of events going on. And we were talking and you were telling me, I don't know how it started, but we started talking about this show that you were doing at tea. And I went, and the light bulb went off in my head. And I said, well, I do these teas in Canada and bring up Young and the Restless people. And so I just thought that would be perfect. And fortunately, you agreed with me.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's good.
I thought that was such a lovely thought you had and gesture to be involved, because we're still really getting to know each other, even though we have great conversations. We've seen each other at a lot of events, as you said.
But see, what you're doing, you're about giving and giving back. And if everyone just gave back a teeny little bit, I mean, can you imagine what the world would be like, what everything would be like? So yeah, I'm always open to that, and I'm out just about every night doing some, giving back as much as I can. Because I feel so fortunate. I mean, here I am. I get to act on the #1 show. This is something I always wanted to do. I didn't want to be anything that other little girls want to be, like nurses, teachers, mothers, flight attendants. I didn't want to be any of that. I just wanted to act. And I told my parents that, all the time, and they went, hopefully, great. I mean, they were really supportive, and they gave me the dance lessons and piano lessons, all that. But they did, we're talking a long time ago, and they didn't have a clue how to help me do that. So just have to I just feel like sometimes take one step forward and 2 steps back, and I just keep going.
But that's one of the interesting things to me. I think people have this idea that if you live in LA, that everybody works in the business, and but I encounter, it's funny how I encounter, even in this town, there's a lot of people that don't have a clue about what we do, right?
Oh, absolutely. And there was no one in my family in the business, and it's just a really difficult business. And you have to want it. Well, I tell people, if you have to want this more than anything. Because if you don't want it that badly and you're not willing to work that hard, then I always say, then do yourself a favor and do me a favor, because I don't want you in my business if you're not ready and willing to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You still take singing lessons, acting classes.
Oh, I'm still in class, and still voice lessons, dance lessons. Because it's a business. It's show business, right? It's the business of show, and that's what it is. And you have to treat it as such. I mean, I call it working the program. So you can't look at what's ahead. I mean, you can't say, oh, if someone says, well, I want to be out there, I want to have a star, I want to be famous, but you can't look at it that way. I say, well, I'm just working and doing the best I can and working as hard as I can, and you keep going, you want it that badly, then it will come to you. But you can't push for that, because then you kind of like push it away. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's about, what you're saying, you put in the work, you put in the time, and then it's meant to be. It's not forcing it. But I mean, when people ask me for advice on, well, how do this, that, I tell them, well, it sounds like you really just want an Oscar. I said, do what you love. Like something passionate, and go for that. But because if you're just doing it for the Oscar, who knows? And that's whatever your motivation is, I'm not judging it. But I feel like, as you said, it's a tough business, this show business, and you got to have that burning passion.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people come and go. Because a lot of people, I've seen them believe their own press. And for me, that's, I love what I do. I'm so fortunate I don't have to press the snooze button, that I can't wait to get up and go to work. I can't wait to come here and be doing this with you. I mean, I love what I do.
It shows. It really does. And the company you keep, there's a lot of love there. It's impressive. I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about you. Everyone adores you. Everyone knows of you. It's amazing. Like there've been a couple of times where I run into you at events, and just it's overwhelming. Like I want to like just break down in tears, because I'm like, I love this woman. I don't know what it is about you. There's just this
that
simpatico.
means so much to me, Paul. I mean, that makes me cry, because That means a great deal to me, believe me. I'm honored to be doing this with you, and I'm honored to be on, what I'm doing and to give back. I'm also a celebrity spokesperson for the ALS Association and work a lot with the Golden West chapter. In fact, I did the Ice Bucket Challenge on my star one,
awesome.
which was wild. That was pretty wild. It's strange what you can find on YouTube. I mean, people will send me things and I go, wow. How did they find that? I don't even remember that I did it.
And just kind of, doing a little prep work to sit down with you today, I found some fun things on YouTube. And we're kind of circling back to you've been dancing since you were 3 years old. And I didn't know that Young and the Restless was willing to take a leap and let's have Esther do a song and dance number. How much fun was that?
Oh my gosh, that was the masquerade ball. And I loved doing that. I did Everybody Ought to Have a Maid from Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. And it was Mike Denny. He was directing at the time. He came down to the dance studio, and saw, all the moves, so he knew how to direct the cameras. And I loved it. So then during the pandemic, when we were shut down for a while and they were going back and showing, older shows, they showed that again, and I was, wow. So it's exciting.
Tell us a little bit more about how did you turn a one-day job into a 40-year career, 40 years and counting?
In the beginning, I really hardly had any lines. So I thought, well, I've got to do something. If I do something, then they don't like it, I'm going to be gone. And if I don't do anything, I'm going to be gone. So I started making her man hungry. So every time, whoever was at the door, because I answered the door all the time is what I did. So if it was the plumber, if it was Victor Newman, whoever it was like, Esther just went gaga, like who was at the door. And then one day I asked props, I said, listen, can you give me a spoon, a wooden spoon with melted chocolate? And they're looking at me like, okay. And so, because in the script it just said Esther answers the door. So I took the spoon, I had the chocolate, I'm trying to answer the door, I've got chocolate, that kind of thing. One day it said Esther goes out and gets the mail. So I went out, got the mail, got a letter, held it up, look around, make sure no one's looking at me or looking, and put it in my pocket. And they never mentioned it because it wasn't in the script.
Right.
But I always did, whatever I did, I always did it during blocking, which means camera blocking. We do the scene so that the cameras know where to move or what we're going to do. So I never surprised them. But one day, this is kind of funny, I did this thing where I was dusting and I sneezed. And so they're going, and I did it during camera blocking. So they're going, cut, and I'm going and they said, okay, well, we will do that again. And I said, oh. They said, well, why? You don't want me to sneeze? And they said, oh, we thought you really sneezed. So it was, that kind of thing.
That's a good actress, ladies and gentlemen. That is a good actress. They bought the sneeze. Because how do you feel about in the script when you see sneezing, laughing? I know for some performers it's a block. I always see it as an opportunity, crying, all those. I like those things. That's what we do.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people will cross those out because they don't want to see what it says. But the writers work really hard, and they plan, and they've been writing our show. I mean, actually, next year's going to be our 50th anniversary. So they've been writing our show, and they will agonize maybe over a certain word or what they want, to be said. And it's my job to bring the character to life. It's not my job to write or rewrite my scene. So I try to do it exactly as written because that's what I know they want.
And some of the things you mentioned of sorts, it feels like that, there's an opportunity in the script to embellish a little without taking away their intention of what the scene was. And sounds like you made some wise choices. Obviously, they kept bringing you back in 40 years and counting.
I mean, I don't know if I could get away with that now in this day and age, but I asked for Oh my God, with the headphones and everything. I mean, we don't even have those anymore. The radio.
Like a Walkman?
Walkman,
Yeah.
thank you. I mean, we don't even have them. I don't even know the name. I mean, who has a Walkman anymore? They don't even have them. But then they
People
did.
in Silver Lake, I think.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they probably got a few.
So, and so I put that on and I'm dancing around, dusting, and that wasn't written anywhere.
Yeah.
But they let me do it.
And you really developed a character.
Well, Bill Bell, back then too, he didn't like comedy. He didn't really like that. He came to me one day. He said, "I know exactly what you're doing." And he said, "And it's okay, but don't you go too far," because he didn't want,
right.
because it was, he was telling a story. It's telling a story.
Yeah.
And but fortunately, he ended up liking it. So.
Loving it, I'd say. But it's funny you say that. He wasn't crazy about the comedy, but I mean, hilarious moment in the flashback episode. Esther walks in and, what is that question she asked? Are we having a lovely day? Or
we're all in our places with sunshiny faces or something.
Shut up, Esther.
In
sync. I cracked up out loud.
I was so honored because for my 40th anniversary, they had this episode, and you can still see, can pull it up, and I was so honored because they showed all these flashback scenes and scenes from 40 years ago, they showed like the main titles, how Esther looked, how I looked during all these years, and I couldn't believe it. I was so honored that they did that.
The thing about that flashback episode too, it was a great thing to do for the 40th anniversary, obviously. But were you aware that like some of the fans started thinking like, what's this about? Like, is she leaving the show? Is this a send-off? I think it was a great celebration, 40th anniversary. But I'm glad that you say now, you say 40 years and counting. You don't plan on going anywhere.
Oh no, I don't believe in retirement. I don't think that's me. I can't speak for how other people feel, and if they feel that's right for them, that's good. But I think you have to have a reason to get up in the morning. Yeah. You have to have a reason to keep going, move forward. And so for me, they're going to have to drag me out of there. I'm not going on my own volition, let's put it that way.
Well, you have my vote of support behind that one. Like, don't go anywhere.
Paul.
Keep doing your thing. I like that quote you have about retirement. You said you don't believe in retirement, but also with the flight attendant job, because you've been doing that for a while.
I always felt if I could do both jobs really, really well, then I will keep doing them. And you can't forget who you are, because I've seen a lot of people believe their own press. So you can't forget who you are. When one day I'm serving coffee or tea at 35,000 feet, another day I'm on the set, another day I'm here with you. And so I've always thought, okay, as long as I can keep doing them, I will. And it's been great because I've met so many viewers and fans from the show on the plane. I've had amazing stories and things that have happened. In fact, one day I was walking up and down the aisle, and there was this woman, she was looking at a soap magazine, I believe it was Soap Opera Digest, and she had it open, and she was looking at it, and then she's looking at me, and but she didn't say anything. And I walked back, and so finally, usually I wouldn't say anything, but I couldn't stand anymore, and I said, "Excuse me, but could I see that, because I haven't seen that yet?" And she went, "Is that you?" And I went, "Yeah." So just had great stories, I had a guy from, oh my gosh, from Turkey, and he was on the plane, and he said to me, "You're my mother." And I said, "You know what? I can't remember a lot of things, but I think I would know that. There's something wrong." He said, No. You do. My mother does your voice in Turkey. So I went, wow. So I've just had great things happen and get to meet a lot of people. It's like doing a personal appearance on the airplane. So it's good too.
That's fun.
Yeah.
As far as retirement goes, so you're not retiring, but the original costume was retired, but found a second home.
Yeah.
Hollywood Museum.
Oh, Paul, I'm so honored. It's at the Hollywood Museum, which is in the old Max Factor building. And so it's a huge honor for me. It's on an exhibit there, so it has my my uniform, my cap, my apron, my first 2 scripts. So they're 40 years old.
Are there notes that you
yeah,
kept?
because I wrote on them.
And people can read that.
Oh my gosh, they're falling apart. They're 40 years old. I mean, thank goodness I had them. And thank goodness I could still fit in the costume wardrobe. I don't know about that.
You look fantastic.
But I'm just so honored that it's there, so you can still see it.
Yeah.
It's huge for me.
I love it. I'm gonna go check it out.